Okay, hopefully you saw my last video about knowing who your ideal life partner is. Okay, if you didn't see it, go back and watch it. Personally, I wish I had known this information when I started dating. My life probably would have been very different. Um, but hey, we live and we learn, and hopefully y'all will learn from my mistakes and figure this stuff out sooner than later. And yeah, if you got kids, help them now. So that said, I'm going to get into a bit of story time, and I'm going to tell you some client stories. Obviously, I am maintaining anonymity. You'll not be able to figure out who these people are because I've literally done readings since 2017, full-time professional for people all over the world. Okay, so and I've really been blessed by that. I've learned a lot from people, and hopefully they've learned a lot from me, and I want to pass that learning along. I think one of the first stories I want to tell you about is, it's actually not one particular, there's only been maybe 2 or 3 clients I've had during this entire time where I had to be the bearer of bad news and say, listen, I know you really care about this person, but someone needs to tell you that you can and should do better, okay? And if you really, really want to make this relationship work, you have to understand this is going to be a lot of work. You have to really understand what you're signing up for. And then I start going in the synastry, which is their unique natal chart up against their person of interest natal chart. And I say, well, you know, I can see you got this compatibility, but you got this incompatibility. And then I start going through the whole thing. And then I say, you know, all things considered, there are more incompatibilities or difficulties or challenges in this relationship than there are strengths and compatibilities and advantages. Okay. And that's hard, but I try to do my work with integrity because I feel that people are making important life decisions based on what I'm saying. Of course, I think at the end of the day, each person has to give account for themselves, and only you have to live with the decisions you make. So you take full responsibility. But because I'm being given some level of access and influence, I don't take it lightly. So if I do see a chart, and it has happened on occasion, not a whole lot, but it has happened a few times where I look at the synastry and I'm like, holy crap, this is a mess. This is more trouble than it's worth. Like, I want to tell that person, and I try to do it in the most loving, encouraging way to say, listen, believe better for yourself, please. You can and you should do better. No relationship should be this hard. I have had situations where the opposite is true. I had one client who came to me not wanting to give all the birth data of her person of interest. And I kept pressing her for it because it is through the astrology that I am able to be the most accurate and detailed. Like, I tell people, yeah, obviously I'm doing the cards, but I tell people, if you want the greatest accuracy and detail, then I need to have birth data. And the more accurate that birth data is, right down to the exact birth time, right down to the minute, the most accurate I can be. Obviously, a lot of times people don't have birth time for their significant other, and I get that, and we work with what we can. But anyway, she didn't want to give me the birth year. I'm like, okay, you know, like, I can't pull his chart if you don't give me this. So it was like pulling teeth to get it out of her. And finally she gave it to me, and reluctantly. And I had to assure her, I am not judging you. I want to help you. Okay. But I need to see what's going on. And she finally gave it. And the reason why she didn't want to give it is because, well, he was very significantly younger than her. And I'm like, it's okay, it's okay. So I pull up the astrology, I pull up the synastry, and I'm like, holy crap. And I told her, I said, honey, I don't blame you. This is spicy. Like, I understand. And she's like, well, you know, he propositioned me. And I'm like, I know, you know, you're not trying to be a cougar, but it was off the charts. So I empathize with her. And she's also a married woman. So I'm like, listen, I get it. I get it. You got something here. All right. And so, you know, I try to help people like that. But you got to be honest with me, and then I can be the most honest with you. So I have another client where things were not so straightforward. We went back and forth for quite some time. She initially reached out to me about a man she was interested in. And I mean, she was really into him, and she just could. It's like he got his hook in her, and she just couldn't get it out. And he kept going back to an ex. And I looked at the synastry between the two, and I saw it. I saw what it was. Like, was it, off the charts? No, but I saw there was definitely something deep between the two of them. And there was a meaningful connection between them. But she's like, why does he keep going back to his ex? Why? And I mean, that just racked her brain, that despite their connection, he keeps going back to this other woman. So I start looking deeper into his chart and hers. And I said, listen, he's going through a Saturn transit through his 7th house. It just started. You're looking at another 2.5 years of him dealing with heavy karma, relationship karma about who he's partnered himself with. And he's got to deal with this past relationship, and it's either going to make or break them. And based on what you're telling me and what the cards are telling me, I don't think they're going to last. I don't think they're going to last another 2.5 years. Now, how much longer they want to drag this out, it's up to them. There's free will. But as for you, I am feeling like intuitively and with the cards, you're being advised to not wait around for him, because he's going through heavy stuff, and this is not going to end anytime quick. Don't put your life on hold. I know you're really into this guy, but you cannot let him drive you into depression while he's just taking his sweet ass time pulling the band-aid off in slow motion. So the cards basically were telling her, and I encourage her as well, just go out there, find someone else, try to enjoy your life, for the moment. Okay, there's somebody better out there. Try to go get someone else. As hard as this is, you probably can, and you should. So she caught up to me a few months later, and she said, I took your advice. I did meet somebody new, and he's a really great guy. He's a good guy. He really cares about me. He does everything right. But I just don't feel for him like I did the other one. And she sent me pictures. And side note, I have this ability to look at pictures of people, and I can pick up on things. So I don't, it's not required, but I've had a lot of clients send me pictures like of their significant other or of themselves, or even of their children if they're having problems with their children. And I can sometimes, read things into the pictures. Okay. So she sent me pictures of her standing with the guy number 1 and her standing with guy number 2. And I could definitely see the energy was hot on for guy number 1. The energy was not for guy number 2. And she's like, he, everything's right about guy number 2. I just don't feel it. So I, again, looked at the synastry between her and guy number 1 and her and guy number 2. And I see it again in the energy. I'm like, okay, I see. I hear you. I'm not going to try to tell you to go make a life with some guy that you're just not passionate about as much as he cares about you, as good of a guy as he is. If it's not there in the heart and you're not feeling, it's not feeling right to you, I'm not going to tell you to go do it, So we pull again, we do a check-in on guy number 1. Well, how is he doing on this Saturn transit? Oh, he's still in it. He's still going through the motions. And then lo and behold, I see, well, he's going to come back. And he did. He came back, and they started working things out. And by the end of that transit, she sent me a message, and she said, you know what? He finally left her, and he finally came back to me. And last I heard, they were living together happily ever after. So, sometimes no is not never. It's just not now. It's a delay. And this is, again, what I think is cool about the astrology is we can get timelines on some of these things. And it might not be what you want to hear, right? Like, really waiting around for this guy 2.5 years. But it helps to understand why this person has some karma. They've got to settle. They've got to close out a major cycle in their life. And you don't spend 2.5 years pulling your hair out, depressed in bed, thinking there's something wrong with you. You understand, that they'll come around eventually. And when they do, they will probably be in a much better life position. So anyway, story time. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want me to look into your personal story, remember I am running a Valentine's Day sale, and I'll have the links down below. And I'm looking forward to connecting with you. Be blessed.